Hello, this is the slightly unshaven version of me, in which I'm participating in another one of these ridiculous rants. I wanted to talk to people today about, I hope this doesn't get too political, because everybody says these things are political, but I don't mean it to be political. I wanted to talk about the energy crisis, or the energy shortage, or whatever you want to term it as. Some ideas that I have, and they're not worth much being seen by 7 or 8 people, and then again, what do I have to say? Does it matter at all? But nevertheless, I have a few ideas. We right now are looking at $4 a gallon gas prices. I don't know where everybody else is paying, but it's been going 2, 4, maybe a few cents below and all that. And I remember when I was a kid, back in about 1968 or so, gas prices were, I think, at 27.9. I never know what the 9 is about. It's a psychological thing, so they don't have to say 28. Or some of them were at 32.9. And now gas is at $4 a gallon, 9. And we've seen that the oil prices, the gasoline prices, have gone up about 5 times as fast as other inflation. It's if you figure it out, it's about 1,500% increase in gasoline prices since 1968. And a lot of this, if I can go through a real short history of it, back about 200 and something million years ago, they had the Carboniferous age. And they had warmer weather, and so the good portion of the Permian seas were made up of swampy areas that grew giant amount of foliage, which then, after many years, were buried under other forms of rocks and so forth, and turned into oil. And then somewhere around 150 years ago, in Germany, I think it was Carl Benz invented the internal combustion engine that used gasoline, and then Henry Ford came up with the assembly line so that they could build automobiles in America that were inexpensive enough for everybody to buy. And since that time, the society changed a lot, because people became automobile driving crazies. Everywhere they wanted to go, they can go in an automobile. And if you can't go there by an automobile, you can go there on a jet, which, by the way, was invented in Ohio, the airplane. And they use oil-based fuel as well. So we developed this whole society, this mobile America, mobile world, with these oil-based, these petroleum-based type vehicles, and we heat our house with them and so forth. And somewhere, in 1967, I think it was, they had the Yom Kippur War, and then in 1973 or 72 or 73, they had another 6-day war, and Israel, for some reason, kicked all the Arab countries' butts around them. So the kings of Saudi Arabia, the Fauds, declared a jihad against the United States at that time, and they created an oil cartel, OPEC, which they decided they're going to hurt us. They're going to do whatever they can to hurt us in this jihad, and they cut down production, which raised oil prices all around the world, and they've been going up ever since then. Now, I'm getting political here again. The Arabs, the Saudis, and the Kuwaitis, and these kings who abuse their subjects and take all the money that we give them and build golden bathtubs and so forth. These folks, they didn't really do very much to get that oil. They were just sitting around there in the desert riding their camels, and then after World War II, the British and the Americans came in, and they said, hey, you guys might have some oil over here. How about if we look for some? And they said, oh, fine, we want money. So they said, all right, we'll pay you. Let us look for the oil. And they drilled the oil. And Saudi Arabia has the most oil of any country in the world, it turns out. So we drilled the oil wells, and we pumped the oil, and we shipped the oil, and we refined the oil, and they sat there collecting the money. Now, I talked to some Arab guy not too long ago, and he was like all indignant, saying, well, you took our oil. I says, no, we did not take your oil. We bought your oil. We paid through the nose for this oil, and now they create a jihad against the United States, and they're trying to hurt our economy by raising the prices up and cutting down the production. And, you know, other things have figured in, such as the rise of China, which now has all these new people that want to use all this oil, so the supply has not increased, and the demand has doubled. So the United States of America has been losing jobs, and they've been hurting because of this oil. And I have an attitude of that, you know, we're waiting for some kind of a magic bullet thing, you know, some invention like cold nuclear fission, or some solar panels that can power our cars. But maybe something like that'll happen. You know, hydrogen. You remember the one about some guy, they told me this story in high school. Some guy invented a carburetor that would be able to put on any car, and then the car would get like 60 miles to the gallon. And there were a lot of people who believe that, but the more you think about that one, it was just a bunch of baloney. I mean, the physics isn't there. But we do right now have the technology in the United States within our grasp to make ourselves energy independent. We absolutely do. It's just a matter of deciding to do it. And it seems like the United States can't even tie its own shoes anymore. It's ridiculous. We don't do anything. We're like a backwards third world country anymore. But we do have the technology to be energy independent. And I give you an example. Well, I have my own idea. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I think a combination of mass transit and private vehicles can work together in order to be able to make us energy independent. Now, what we need are trains that run, you know, maybe where the freeways are, between the freeways. High-speed rail that runs from, like, I live in Ashtabula, which is like 70 miles outside of Cleveland. They could have a track that runs right maybe where the freeway is, down the road, and goes 70 miles into Cleveland. They could have express trains down the middle that go from one big city to another, and they could have the more local trains on the outside. You know, I even think we have the technology that you'd be able to take a tiny little vehicle, maybe that can seat 4, a cubicle, little vehicle that gets like 60 or 70 miles to the gallon, or electric. You drive it down to where the train station is near your freeway exit. You put in a little card that sets up your trip and charges you if you like, and then you queue up, and when the train comes along, you automatically load you on the train, and shoot, at high-speed rail. If it's a long trip, it shifts you to the inside rails, and if it's a shorter trip, it just takes you there, so that nobody really mostly would need to drive in a regular commute more than, let's say, 8-9 miles. You know, anything longer than that would go on the high-speed rail. The trucking can be done that way. And, you know, there'd have to still be roads, you know, on the outside of maybe one lane each way on the outside of these tracks. But generally, I believe that this high-speed rail combination with small vehicles could make us energy independent, because we would be using much less energy being with the rail system. And I know a lot of people may not like mass transit, but I used to use mass transit in the city of Cleveland when I lived there, and it kind of sucks, you know. For one thing, there's a bunch of crooks that ride the mass transit. So, you know, you're putting yourself on the line there to be riding with a bunch of crooks that might try to beat you over the head and take your wallet. Or if you're a woman, they might want to wait for you to get off the bus and then jump you, you know. But, and there's another problem with the mass transit is that, you know, the trains or the buses don't run but maybe every hour or so in the middle of the night. So if you have to wait 45 minutes in 0-degree weathers in downtown Cleveland, that's not real pleasant in the middle. You know, I've done that before. You know, 11 o'clock at night, standing out in the cold, the wind is blowing, waiting for the bus. But this is different. See, if we did this, we could not just reduce the amount of traffic and the amount of parking problems when you get into the city, but you could also, whenever you need to take a little short trip in the city, you could take your little itty-bitty vehicle. You drive it up on the into the train when you need to go out of the city a long distance, but for like 2-mile jump around the city, you take your little itty-bitty vehicle, you know? I mean, I believe that the technology exists, that with the computer technology, these trains could run very efficiently, where you just punch in where you got to go, and it would subtract it out of your bank account, and then you would just be automatically shifted on. You could even take trips, and think about this, in the morning, if you, let's say right now you have a 45-minute commute or something, it not only would this reduce the amount of the commute, maybe it's a half an hour, but while you're riding on that train, you could like take a nap or get ready for work, you know. You could do your work on your little car. You know, you can have a little workstation inside the car while you're riding in your train. And it would also get rid of the problem of having crooks come up and try to rob you, because everybody's still inside their vehicle, just loaded on the, like maybe 2 abreast on this big train car. So this is my idea about reducing the energy problem in the United States. The problem is with this, something this gigantic and fantastic is beyond the ability of the American people. The American people are a bunch of babbling retards these days. Nobody can do anything. You know, we can't do, you know, that's the can't do attitude of America anymore. I think we should break this country up maybe.